Well, looky here, what do we have? Another pretty thing ready for me to grab. But little does she know that I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. Cause at the end of the night, it is her I'll be holding. I love you so, hey, that's what you'll say. You'll tell me, baby, please don't go away.
What's going on YouTube? It's Jay Wilson, NorthFinUSA.com, Instagram, and Facebook. So we are here, a collaboration video about juiced fish. It's been talked about before, yes it has. And it's been talked about by some big players, and it's been talked about from some rookies, some novices, and some guys that have been doing it for a long time and they felt like you needed the information. And not all of them are wrong. But recently, in about the last year or so, I've watched a few juiced or hormoned fish videos. And the information that is portrayed to you is very misleading. It's almost like the current media. So let me talk a little bit about it. So when you get a fish, it's brightly colored, you throw it in your tank, and in a few days it goes gray. Maybe silver, brown, depends on the fish. You automatically think, well crap, I watched the video from this guy or this girl, and they said that this fish is juiced. So then you get very upset at the person that you purchased the fish from. Whether they're an online retailer, they're a local fish stop, or it's a big box store. Well, there is juiced fish in the United States, but it's not as prevalent as you think. Most of the juiced fish happen in Asia, and the food is created in Asia. And to get it in here is a little bit difficult, but I'll let the folks that we brought in today to discuss hormone fish to you do a little bit more talking. So first up to bat, I want to introduce the man, the myth, the ICU legend, the inquisitive fish guy, to talk to you today about a little bit of juicy. What you got, IFG?
What up, YouTube? IFG, the inquisitive fish guy. Thanks for the spot, Jay. Let's talk about juiced African cichlids. More often than not, you will hear the term in the hobby, juiced fish or juiced African cichlids. It is very important that you understand what a juiced African cichlid is and at what size these fish are normally juiced. Hormoned African cichlid will not lose its color once being placed into a tank with other dominant fish. It takes a little while for the hormones to wear off of that fish, similar to when human beings are using steroids. Purchasing adult-sized African cichlids that are showing nice coloration when they're put into your tank, it really depends on what size fish you have in that tank, and it also depends on the hierarchy that exists within your aquarium.
Appreciate that, IFG. Now, are you starting to get the picture? Just because your fish isn't brightly colored, because that's the way you got them, doesn't necessarily mean the fish is juiced. So now I want to jump to Butch Livingston from Southeast Cichlids. I gave him 3 minutes and the dude took advantage, and so Butch, let him have it.
What's up, everybody? Tonight we're talking about juiced fish or not juiced fish. Jay asked me to talk for 3 minutes. I could probably talk much longer about this subject, but I'm going to try to keep it at 3 minutes. I get asked a lot when that term's thrown around, what is a juiced fish? Juiced fish means a fish who is this big and showing full color. If you go to any of your box chain pet stores and look in the assorted peacock or African tank, and you'll see little fish this big, fully colored up. Odds are that fish came from Asia and had been fed hormone food for its entire life, which makes it color up like that. It causes female fish to color up, and you'll think that they're males. Once you take that fish home with you, and after 3 or 4 weeks of not getting this hormone food, the fish will lose its color. Maybe not all of its color, but it's just not as magnificent as it was. In some cases, they lose all their color. In some cases, it turns out to be a female. So that's what a juiced fish is. Here in the United States, it's not that common. You rarely ever see juiced fish here in the United States that were actually fed the hormone food here in the United States, because the food is manufactured over in Asia. And it's very difficult to get here in the States. And most of us recognize the fact that a fish that's this big is not going to be full color and look like a fish that is this big. So let's also talk about bigger fish that either you get from me or anyone else. Let's say you buy a Benga Sunshine Peacock that's 3 inches, and when you get him, he's full color and just drop dead. And in 2 or 3 days, not so much. And then maybe even a few days later, he might go all silver or brown or whatever the case is of what fish you have. Sometimes people think, oh, well, this fish must be juiced. It doesn't really work that way. Unless you buy a big fish like this from a pet store or a known importer who gets our fish from Asia. Any breeder, farm fish from Florida, German imported fish, it's no different. I mean, if you have a fish this big and he's showing full color when you get him, and you put him in a tank with fish this big or just dominant fish, and if your new guy doesn't feel comfortable, he's going to turn the color off. They turn the color off to avoid getting beaten up. I mean, that the dominant fish is going to look for a colored up fish and a lot of times beat them into submission, which is turning their color off, or make the other fish think that they're going to beat them into submission. These fish change color with moods. That's one of the cool things about African cichlids is they change their color. When you feed them, sometimes they will turn the color on. When they're breeding, they turn the color on. If you have an all-male show tank and you've got big fish and you put a fish in this big and he doesn't feel dominant, and 9 times out of 10 he's not going to, he's going to turn the color off and may not turn it back on for months until he gets of size and feels comfortable enough to do so. That's just a little bit about it. I'm like I say, I could talk about this in great detail, but anyways, hope that you found some useful information. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Jay.
Well, Butch Livingston said that he can go on for a while, and I'm sure he can, but that was some solid information. So now, without further ado, Mr. Largo from the Cichlid Shack. Hit it!
Hey everyone, James Largo of the Cichlid Shack here to cover what makes fish color up and color down. I'm going to use this tank here as an example to give you guys a few hints on what makes fish color up and what makes them color down. You guys can see in the Arizona sunlight that this is a red top Lawanda grow out tank. It has everything from 2-inch all the way up to 5 to 5.5-inch red top Lawandas. You can see that there's multiple sizes showing color, as well as some that are not very dominant, like the one right back there, which is a male but not showing much color. What makes them show color? Dominance, great food such as Northfin, which we feed here in the Cichlid Shack. What makes them color down? Stress from, being chased, shipping, some other ones. Little future fish keeper for you guys. As far as coloring up and down, stress from shipping will make fish color down. Stress from other dominant fish in the tank. Now I wanted to use this as an example as another reason. As a breeder of African cichlids, all of my tanks here in the Cichlid Shack are species only tanks. So you have to keep that in mind. This fish in here, when you choose your size and fish, I'll send you out the most beautiful colored up one in that size range. Now that's going to be the most dominant fish in this grow out tank, but when adding it to your tank, which has a mixture of different types of cichlids, he may not feel as dominant and may color down. So there's a good example of dominance showing coloring up and coloring down. I hope you guys enjoyed this little tidbit. Thanks, Jay, for having me.
So folks, I hope you got a clearer picture on juiced fish. Chances are you don't have it, and if you do, then you really need to think about where you get your fish from. Most of the reputable places in the United States do not import or sell hormone fish. That's kind of specific to Asia. The food is specific to Asia. And if they're doing it here, you're walking into those big box retailers, just like Butch said, and you get this mixed peacock tank or African cichlid tank, and you find that inch fish that is bright red or bright yellow. Chances are it's too good to be true. But if you provide a great ecosystem, which means your tank water is perfect, your filtration is perfect, you have a well-balanced diet, your fish feels comfortable in the colony that it's in within the tank. I mean, I'm talking the whole spectrum is almost perfect. Your fish will be brighter than what you ever could have imagined. So find a reputable place. We've got Southeast Cichlids, we got the Cichlid Shack, you've got the Imperial Tropicals. There are a ton of places. Josh Cunningham. There are a ton. Middletown Cichlids. Every time I say there's a ton, one comes to my mind. So just know that there are reputable places out there that ship, or you can walk in and get your fish. I know Nico's online all the time talking about all his fish. You have to go directly to him to get those. Dekoshi's got some killer fish. So there is a plethora of quality species out there for you that are not juiced, they're not hormoned, and you don't have to run around and spread crap knowledge, because now you have it from 3 big-time people in the fish hobby. So thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, unliking, sharing, tweeting, retweeting, quoting, double tapping, whatever you're doing to keep this channel relevant. We greatly appreciate it. Check out northfinusa.com. We've got hoodies, children's clothes. We've just added the complete medication line of CChem products, and as always, we're Northfin's #1 premium reseller. Thank you so much. You know what's next. Holla!